make sure you're consistent with something like that. If you're really wanting to fade the team totals in the first half or the full game, make sure you do it in every game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think series-wise, Andy, I'm thinking that the bottom line, 4 or 5. I know I heard Brian Power and Mark Zinno talking about this on the Morning Wager today. Links in the description, guys. Check it out. It's the same price. It was basically the same price. I mean, last night it was plus 190, plus 175 for Celtics and 4, Celtics and 5. It was the same damn price. I mean, does anybody anybody believe that this thing is going to go more than 5 games? I'd love to hear why you think it's going to go more than that. Now, granted, and we've always said this about the Celtics, right? The only way this gets screwed up is when the Celtics beat the Celtics. And they have known to do that. They did that against Atlanta last year, a team that they should have beaten in 4, maybe 5, and they ended up going 6 games because they couldn't handle business here. Not that the Miami Heat wasn't a hell of a scrimmage to get warmed up, kind of get the blood going, work out the kinks, great stuff there. But now they've got Cleveland coming in off a game 7. The market hit this thing on the over too, Andy, and I'm scratching my head with it. What we see was 208, 208 and a half, and now we're up to 211, 211 and a half. So that means either you think Boston is going to absolutely destroy them, or you think Cleveland is going to have more success offensively than the rest of us here. I don't get the understanding of why it is that the money came in on the over in this one, unless we're just assuming they're going to drop 120 on this Cleveland defense, which, by the way, I would think is going to at least hold their own for a while in here, especially if Boston can't hit threes.
Yeah, I mean, this is a Boston team that is, second slowest in pace? And, Miami Heat were third. So,
yep.
You had that series that was really slow. And actually, believe it or not, Cleveland tied for 4th in the playoffs for highest pace of play. Play. So it's kind of interesting. But if Boston dictates it, yeah, it's going to be a little bit slower. I would agree with the under. Somebody in the chat asked, can they cover this big number? Man, I mean, minus 14, it feels like you take Boston to cover. It feels like you take Boston to cover or Cleveland on the money line. This feels like Cleveland hammers teams or they lose outright. I'm telling you, I would stick more with the first quarter and the first half. I like the minus 8 in the first half for Boston. Like that's a reasonable number to get to. Once you get into that minus 14, you're kind of playing with fire there with garbage points at the end. That being said, Boston leaves their starters in way longer, too close comfort for me. I'm stunned that they leave like that. Leave that to the Knicks. Let the Knicks starters play 48 minutes. What are you doing? You got a bench. Let those guys play. But that's what Boston does. If you told me I had to play on the spread, it would be I'd take the Celtics. But as far as like what bets do I like in this game, that's not even the top 10 of what I would be betting on. I would be looking at first halves.
I agree 100% here. I think that's the better way to go because honestly, what are we going to get from the Celtics here? Been maybe a little rust. You still ain't getting Porzingis back. And we still don't know, Andy, are you seeing anything on Jared Allen?
This game time decision. Like you and I were saying, if he couldn't suit up for a game 7, a potentially last game of the season, man, to me, that just says a lot. Ribs. Oh, that's a lot of pain on the breathing, banging around bodies. I mean, that's such a tough one for Jared Allen. I was saying, look at unders on his props, because if he does play, it might be limited minutes. If he takes a good elbow to the ribs, which, the Celtics are going to, if he plays, you got to believe there's going to be some Al Horford getting those elbows up there a little bit, right in that rib cage.
And I've seen some love for Horford in the prop market too. His total prop has been getting a little bit of love here, 9.5 points for him. And it's Mobley, I guess that's going to be on him. But who the hell is Mobley stopping there? Horford's been known to pull up from 3 listen, nobody takes more threes than the Celtics. If the Celtics are hitting threes, the game's over in the half. If they're not, then this is going to be a lower scoring game. There's just no way around it here. So it's interesting to see which Celtics team shows up early in this game, Andy, and I'm kind of with you. I would target early. I see a lot of Derek White, too, showing up here. I would imagine he is going to be good for his usual, and as well as Tatum, right? I mean, Tatum's another guy who absolutely, was he ever under 30 against Miami? I think he was a point machine, and then that was it. And he usually got it in the first half and disappeared in the second half. It's like he was over in his prop in the first half and didn't get anything in the second half.
Yeah, just be cautious with Derek White. 25.5 points, rebounds, and assists his number. He's not gone over that ever against Cleveland.
20.
And, he had 32 and 45 in his last 2 games, but before that, 24 and 18. The books are on to the Derek White props. So that's, that's one of the things with the player props. Sometimes you can find these really good trends and find these really good matchups, but you also have to acknowledge that if the books have caught on to it well and have they gotten out in front of it. I will also tell you, Al Horford, 19.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He did not go over one time against Miami. Not one time.
Nope.
He capped out at 17. So that's another one that the books have probably put up a little bit higher, knowing that people want to bet overs on these points, rebounds, and assists, and then they end up having a good game, and they still come up just a little bit short. I like Tatum rebounds and assists as my favorite prop in this one.
Yep, kind of like that one there. Go with what we know we're going to get in that one there. But those of you looking at the first half under 108.5, John Finley and company agree 100% there. Big Daddy passing on the full game total, but definitely taking the team total under for the Cavs. I didn't see what the team total was for Boston. I would imagine it's got to be the 111, 112 mark, somewhere in there, Andy.
111.5. You're very good.
111.5. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I would just for the record, 49.5 Cleveland in the first half. That under is pretty enticing. 57.5 for Boston. That's pretty enticing. So yeah, you got some good team totals there to take a look at.
Wow. Look at that. Chad Moody going, Andy, you just beat him to it there. So first half, love it. In there, loves your Tatum look as well. So I think we'll know quickly what kind of night it's going to be for the Cavs, but they might still be icing down from the series against Orlando, who is, listen, nobody's going to confuse them with, one of the offensive juggernauts of the year, but defensively, they can certainly beat you up. And it was a very physical series. So that's going to be your 7:00 game. Shout out to those of you guys joining us here today live. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up if you could here. A quick like would be much appreciated here. And we do have another game that we want to go over. And that, of course, is going to be the late game. And this is the series, Andy, that a lot of people have been looking forward to, with OKC taking on Dallas. 3.5, I think, still is what we're looking at here. This, too, was another total that got bet up through the roof. What are we up to? 218.5 now. Maxi Kleber is that's not a great injury for Dallas, because that lessens the the depth. That's not great. But all in all, can Dallas win this game on the road in game one, Andy?
So I've been wishy-washy on some series, and then I've really kind of had a pretty strong opinion on series, and I have a strong opinion. I think the Thunder handle business in this one. I think this is just too tough of a matchup for Dallas. And you brought it up. Maxi Kleber, listen, is Maxi Kleber going to decide the series whether he is in or out? I think he's good for a couple possessions. And this is a guy that played 22 minutes, and this is not a team like the Pacers that rolls 8, 9, sometimes 10 guys deep. This is a team that really, really needs those minutes, and that is all of a sudden a really, really big void he was a guy that could stretch the floor a little bit. And so now what you have is you have guys like Daniel Gafford and Lively as your bigs trying to go up against Chet Holmgren. That is big advantage OKC. On the perimeter, you've got Luka and Kyrie, not exactly known for their defense. So you got to believe that SGA is going to get his, and Giddey is probably going to do well. Dort, what Dort did to Brandon Ingram last series, Joe, was criminal. I mean, yeah, they may have a mugshot of Dort in the Pelicans locker room for what he did to him. The Brandon Ingram unders was easily my best bet of that series. I kept riding it. I don't think he's fast enough to keep up with Kyrie, but he is a good enough matchup to muscle with Luka and just muddy up that perimeter. And you look at the depth of the Dallas Mavericks and you look at who's doing the scoring, and you've got PJ Washington as one of the last guys left scoring double digits outside of Luka and Kyrie. And that is a really, really big problem. They are so dependent on those two guys. And especially if you don't have Kleber out there, that doesn't give them at least a little bit of a 3-point threat. I think this is the Thunder all day. I think this is SGA's really coming out party, and just that lack of depth is really going to rear its ugly head against Oklahoma City Thunder, who can just constantly throw guys out there. Jalen Williams, all these guys, Aaron Wiggins can even come in and give you a good spark. This is just a team that can throw a lot of good young bodies. And Luka plays like he's not quite 100%. He's 90%, I would say, but he definitely is hobbled a little bit. And here's one thing Dort can do, and he can get under your skin. There's going to be at least 2 games where Luka goes for stretches where he's so pissed off at the referees, and he's mad that he doesn't get a couple calls, that he will take himself out of the game for a few minutes mentally. And I just don't think you can do that against the Thunder. I love the Thunder to win this series. If you want to go over some player props in this one, I mentioned him before. Aaron Wiggins has been a really, really good one. I know he's not on tops of everybody's list. Do you know Aaron Wiggins has gone over his points, rebounds, and assists in his last 9 games? It's only 8.5. This is a guy that has his set minutes. He comes in and he just gets you 10 points, rebounds, and assists, and the books leave it up at 8.5. You could even look at his rebounds and assists. They're only 3.5. This guy is 4, 4, 7, 5, 7, 6, 5, 5, 7. His minutes are set. He comes in off the bench. He's got his set rotation. And is Kyrie known for his great boxing out? No. Is he known for his amazing defense? No. So you got some really good value on some of these some of these other guys. I would look at Derek Lively. I think they're going to need him in this series. Gafford, I think, is going to struggle. I think Gafford's going to get kind of run off the court against Holmgren. I'm not sure what Gafford's contributions are. Like, I guess down low, trying to muscle his way into Holmgren. But Holmgren shooting threes, he's going to be able to get a lot of those way over Daniel Gafford. Gafford's not tall enough. Derek Lively is at least athletic enough to try and keep up and try and muscle him. So you could look at his points, rebounds, and assists. It's 15.5. He's had 22, 20, 15, 15, and 17 against the Clippers. I think they're going to need him. I think they're going to need his energy and athleticism. Kyrie over his rebounds and assists is a really good one. Last I checked, they did move it up to 10.5. Yeah. I don't like that move, but I would keep with it. Why? Because he's had 14 and 16 against OKC earlier this season in the regular season. In the playoffs, this is about what he's averaged, but this is a different matchup. So I like Kyrie over his rebounds and assists. I loved it a lot more at 9.5 as opposed to 10. But those are a few. I can't get to the window on Luka and SGA. Their numbers are so high. That being said, maybe I'm missing out. Jalen Brunson's just put up 40 points? How many games in a row? They can't put his point total high enough. So maybe I'm kind of missing the boat here. SGA's points is 28.5, but I really like the Thunder to get off to a good start. Spread's only -3.5. Again, I would look at the first quarter. I would look at the first half as the home team coming out really, really excited. This -3.5, I don't know if I would lay it for the full game because I think the games are close, but I do like the Thunder in the series.
A lot of people like that Thunder. A lot of people thinking also, I can see in the chat room, we got some people thinking that maybe OKC has been a little bit undervalued in the market since the playoffs began as a number one seed. Minus 120, Andy, I think I'm seeing for them in the series. It's a toss-up series. I mean, it's basically a pick-em price in the series here, and home court has mattered. I'll say that. Home court has absolutely mattered in these playoffs here. I think it is going to matter here, and we all know OKC is going to get more home games than what Dallas is here. But Dallas is kind of at that point where they can ill afford anything else to go on. Are you worried, too, about Doncic? And it's not like SGA. I mean, he missed a bunch of games down the stretch, too. They're saying he's not 100%, but who the hell is 100% anymore at this particular point? I think it's going to be a fascinating game one. I ultimately think it's going to come down to the very end. I would be shocked if this thing lands under, Andy, unless I'm giving people too much credit for defense here. But I would imagine these two teams, they played a lot of overs in some monster games this year where defense was optional, correct?
Yeah, it's tough to take away much from that Thunder series. I mean, the Pelicans were just done without Zion.
They didn't give him anything.
No, they didn't give him anything. I mean, credit to the Thunder. They did what they had to do, which is put their foot on their throats. And, you normally don't see that from a young team like that. But I watched every single one of those games, and they gave him nothing. They didn't give him an inch. Luka and Kyrie, obviously way better in the backcourt, but I still think the Thunder have enough weapons to throw at them. I mean, I do think every game's going to be close. It's going to be tough to see some blowouts, and I feel like the blowouts are where the overs go to die. So if I get a close game, where all these guys, all the main scorers are playing 40-plus minutes, you could have some fireworks there in the last minute. So I don't know if I don't think I have that big of a total on the Mavericks and Thunder. So
I think, call me crazy here, but I think experience hasn't come into play for OKC just yet. I think it's going to come into play tonight. I think Dallas wins game one and sets the tone for this series and makes SGA and the younger guys here on OKC. And I'm not saying Dallas is going to win the series, but I'd be shocked if Dallas don't win this game. I don't know. Maybe I'm nuts. Everyone seems to love OKC, but I think Kyrie and Luka are absolutely going to be difference makers in this game. PJ Washington is playing on a level, but did anybody else catch the physicality and how they beat the living crap out of the Clippers? I mean, anybody who watched that game last night with Denver, right? The physicality that Minnesota is bringing to the table is screwing up Denver something fierce. That's exactly the kind of effort I saw from Dallas here. Am I right, Andy? Like, who did OKC play that could score and be that kind of physical on the boards, under the paint, in the game? I think this is going to be an eye-opening experience for OKC in this one.
I would just point out that the Clippers started PJ Tucker and played him 20 minutes in that last game against Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, Dallas didn't exactly have the toughest guy. They had Harden, who was checked out, Terrence Mann, so not exactly the toughest matchup. Listen, here are the minutes from that last game that the Mavericks had. You got PJ Washington at 35, Jones at 36. There's Gafford at 22. Kyrie at 42, Doncic at 43. So now you're asking Doncic on a sore knee to play 43 minutes at least, and you go to the bench. Lively's at 24, so basically Gafford and Lively are splitting those center minutes, and then you got Green coming in. This is just a really thin. It's just a really, really thin roster. And I know we saw it with the Pacers, where the Pacers had the bench, and the Knicks had all the starters, and they're playing their guys a million minutes. But I think it's a little bit of apples to oranges with that. First off, the Thunder are at home. Second off, the referees are not going to give the Mavs the same calls that they gave the Knicks last night. And I think this is just going to be a little bit too much for the Mavericks. I know that you depend on your stars in the playoffs. The Thunder have stars. the Mavericks have stars. If they somewhat cancel each other out, then give me those role players and those bench players all day for the Thunder. So, and I know somebody Julio said it's trying to be a fun playing little troll there in the chat room saying what could go wrong. Everyone's on the Thunder. All the other kids from WagerTalk, the kids. We do need some kids around here, Joe, to lower the average age of the handicappers here.
Well, we need the kids so we can fade their asses. That's what we need. Yes, bring them in there. I got no
Shout out
problem.
to Julio.
If the kids, Julio, are all on the Thunder, you bet your ass I'm on Dallas here tonight. It just feels like this is going to be a fun one here. And if Luka and Kyrie are as good as we think they are together, because, by the way, they're only great together. When one's off the court, the other one sucks. I don't know if you guys noticed that. The numbers this year are hysterical with just Kyrie on the court by himself and no Luka. He's like minus 45 on a net. It's not great. And the same thing with Doncic. Much better when Kyrie is on the floor. Those two together, Lively's good to go. I think this is going to be a fun one here tonight between SGA and Luka and company. So do not miss this one here tonight. And by the way, we should just say, call me crazy here, Andy. I know there was some comments in the chat room about look how great Minnesota looks, and they do look good, but is what we've seen more an indictment on how good Minnesota is? Or is it more of an indictment of just how this is not the same Denver team for a year ago, where this Denver team is not the same? Now, Minnesota, listen, they've been playing phenomenal, but they built this team and put this roster together to beat Denver, and they're doing exactly that. This Minnesota team, I don't think, is winning this series a year ago. So I don't know if this is an indictment on how great Minnesota is, or is it an indictment on what a difference a year makes in the NBA?
A couple things going on. Jamal Murray is clearly not 100%.
Oh yeah, no.
And he's the cog that makes that thing go. Like when you take him out, it's just not the same Denver team. And it's amazing what a half step is in the NBA, man. Like Jamal Murray at 100%. They're not able to do that to him, but when he's a half step slow, they can keep up with him. And then there's what does Marco say? Fat and sassy. I think Nuggets kind of came into the playoffs pretty fat and sassy. They needed 2 game winners to get past the Lakers. They were down at half in every single game. They were playing with fire. They came out lackadaisical, and it really burned them. And now, I mean, it will be the gift of all gifts if Jamal Murray does not get suspended for game 3. I do not know how you cannot suspend him for game 3. Threw a heating pad onto the court while they were playing. I mean, that's a little bit different than like getting a tech at a ref or like Mike Malone coming out and yelling at a referee. This guy threw a heating pad onto the court. How can the NBA, do this? Or they say, well, we screwed it up with the Suns and the Spurs way back when they suspended, what was it, Stoudemire for coming off the bench in that game. Maybe they say we're not gonna step in and affect that. We'll suspend him for 5 games starting next season, but there's a chance he does not play in game 3. But last year, no, they don't beat him. This year, you have Anthony Edwards taking the next step. Daniels defense, he's taken that next step into being one of the elite defenders in there. And I heard someone make a really good point. If you're preparing for the Timberwolves and you're basing your offense on having Rudy Gobert in there, did Minnesota actually catch him off guard by not having Rudy Gobert there? Because they did not have the big, slow, center out of there. They had all speed in there, and they used it to their advantage. So kudos to them. It was fun to watch. I like Denver. I like their team, but I thoroughly enjoyed watching what Minnesota did.
Well, Tiertel, if you don't think the Dallas defense is playing at an exceptional level and will be more physical than anything OKC has already seen this year, a la New Orleans, Well, we're going to find out. We'll see how good it is because I have been nothing but impressed with what this Dallas defense has done after the All-Star break, and certainly thus far here against the Clippers here. In the meantime, I've seen OKC struggle all year long against the more physical defenses in the NBA. They are going to struggle. They did not have an issue with New Orleans screwing things up for them, except for game one, and they still couldn't steal it because they didn't have enough offense. I promise you, Dallas has got enough offense here. I think this is a totally different animal for OKC here tonight. One win. Hey, listen, if they pass this test, kudos to them. I don't think they pass it, though. I think this has got zigzag written all over it. And I'm taking Dallas to get it done first and foremost. And I'm not saying Minnesota's terrible. Don't get me wrong. Minnesota they're firing on all cylinders by far. Minnesota and Boston collision course? Yes. I don't see anybody getting in the way. But we all know, Andy, hell of a lot can happen between now and the finals. So let's not run to the window and bet everything on Minnesota winning, because a lot can happen here in the playoffs. A lot can go wrong. So, but so far, so good for them. And now my question is it a gentleman's sweep? Andy, does Denver roll over? Or does Denver leave it all out there and at least get one of these games?
If they're not going to be without Jamal Murray in game 3, yeah, you got to believe the sweep is coming. If not, they probably get one in Denver. But I know they got a few days off, but they don't play till Friday. So maybe it gives Jamal Murray a little bit more time to heal. But again, that calf, what's up with all the calf injuries? It just, Dame was not the same. Obviously, Giannis couldn't even play. You get these guys with this calf injuries, and I can't believe that he would be back at 100%. Yeah, you mentioned a lot can happen. Think about it. Think about Milwaukee and poor Doc Rivers.
Yes.
A week or so out from the playoffs. He's like, my 1-2 punch is Giannis and Lillard. He gets the playoffs. He's like, now it's Middleton and Lopez. So yes, a lot can happen in the playoffs.
Yes, sure. No, it's one slip one way or the other. It's like, good Lord. Actually, I hope nobody else gets any injuries throughout the playoffs, because I really do at this point would love to see Minnesota and Boston go toe-to-toe so we can all watch Boston lose again. Yes, outstanding.
Like things like that. Yeah. So
yeah, it's like big. I would absolutely love to see that. And Rich. Well, listen, we're gonna come back tomorrow. Shit, if I'm so wrong and Dallas is gonna get run over tonight, come back tomorrow and tell me. Come back and tell me how wrong I am with Dallas. We'll see. But don't tell me, by the way. Tell your book, because I don't really give a shit one way or the other. So don't tell me. Tell your bookie. Tell your bookie how wrong I am. Yes, and I do think also, by the way, it looks like still no word. I thought they just came out with the did they come out with the injury report for Allen? Did I see that come across over there? Listen, they can use all the help that they can get. Let's be realistic here.
I would be surprised if they announced them before game time. They're not going to want to give. They're not going to give us.
Yeah,
they're not going to give us much information.
Yep, I mean that absolutely sucks. Absolutely, Cheshire. I agree with you 100%. All right, so we do bring out the brooms from Deshaun. Is more money on OKC or Dallas? What do you want to say? Let's tell you right now what we got here. Money. Oh, all the money is on OKC right now. Looks like. I'm showing about 65% of the money on Dallas right now. About 39%, 40% there on Dallas. So OKC is getting the money. Tickets are about close to split down the middle here. Much more on the money line for OKC. And a lot more money on the over. So, I'm trying to figure out who does that from 214.5 to 218.5, 219. Boy, that's going to be interesting, Andy, isn't it? That's going to be real interesting. Because if this thing flies over the total, like the market thinks it's going to fly over the total, Who are you focusing on prop-wise for points here? Just about everyone at that point?
Unless you get one guy that's like responsible for it, like
Right.
the game where Donovan Mitchell scored 50 and nobody else did. So
yes,
yeah, those are hard. Yeah, you like to think everyone was involved in it, but yeah, it could be one of the. Listen, if you get a game that goes really really high over that total, it's got to be the superstars. I feel like if you're getting a game that flies over, you've got Kyrie and Luka who go for 70 points, and then you got SGA and like I don't know someone like Jalen Williams who goes 4 of 6 from 3-pointers, and they combine for 70. You know, kind of one of those. So
PJ Washington dropping 30 tonight. Let's just clear it up here real quick, Tom. Being told Obi Toppin over points tomorrow. John, I'll thank you tomorrow. I'm with you. Let's roll. Obi Toppin tomorrow. Getting it done. The revenge series for Obi Toppin coming hard tomorrow at the New York Knicks. Do love that. And by the way, Rashad, I could give two shits less about Denver. I'm a Heat fan first and foremost. I actually saw them beat the Miami Heat last year. I don't care one way or the other if Denver wins or Denver doesn't win. I'm just saying Minnesota's got a lot of basketball still left to play before we anoint them world champions. And namely the Boston Celtics, if they don't throw up all over themselves. I think that's the big thing, Andy, is will Boston be their own worst enemy? And it starts here tonight. Will they handle business, or will they have to go 6 to finish a team that they should in all likelihood sweep or land in 5 here? Because we've all seen Boston do this before. Not a ton of line movement one way or the other. 3.5 now, 12.5, even a 13 or 2 is starting to pop up on Boston in this, which is kind of head scratching there, to say the least. Andy, is this thing, where do you think it closed? 13.5? Can we get to, will there be any buyback at 13? I don't know why there wasn't with Miami. I don't know why there would be now.
I mean, listen, if the contrarian gods were on the show, that would be the contrarian play is the Cleveland Cavaliers, right? I mean, kind of no question about that.
Yep.
So they've got a good track record with it. Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. Can I go over some series spread numbers?
Yes, you will. Alejandro, when you think about it, Donovan Mitchell, 27.5 points, asking if you think he'll go over that here tonight, Andy.
You're rolling the dice that Boston is not going to double him and try and take him out of the game, that they would try and take out the role players. That's the roll of the dice. If they want to double him and force him to pass it, then he's going to go under, and he's probably going to fly over his assist total. If they just say, Donovan, you can take your 35 points, but you Mobley and you Strus and, you Allen or whoever's out there, you guys aren't going to get to, more than 10 points each. So it's a roll of the dice. I would say, give it a shot. He's been so good, and this is just a volume play. I mean, how many times is he going to shoot it tonight, Joe? 30?
Yes, exactly.
Eventually you're going to get there. He does do a good job of drawing fouls. As a Pacers fan, I can't believe I get to watch Jalen Brunson be the new Trae Young, where he drives into the lane, falls over, and they give him the call. But it's the NBA we live in. Donovan Mitchell can do that. So, yeah, I'm not taking an under on Donovan Mitchell tonight. But you'll know early on, and maybe that would be a very good live bet situation. If they're doubling Donovan Mitchell, and you can tell that that's their main focus on defense, then I would try and get out of that bet with a live bet on the player prop.
I love it. Love it. All right, so you brought up the fact, we talked about this before the first round, about how you wish you had dabbled a little bit more in some of the series prices here. So how are you approaching it in round 2 here, Andy?
I mean, the first round was just a really easy. You parlay a couple series that you have a really strong opinion on. So, for example, you can start with the Boston Celtics and the Cavaliers. If we all believe that Boston is going to win and it's going to be a sweep or a gentleman's sweep, I can start a parlay with Boston Celtics minus 1.5 games. That's minus 550. It's a good starting point. hard to see the Cavaliers getting to 3 wins in this series. That's what it would have to take in order for this bet to lose. So now I can move to some of the other series. If you're like me and you believe in the Oklahoma City Thunder, I can grab the Thunder plus 1.5 games at minus 185. I can parlay them together. And that gets me down to about minus 119. I think they win the series outright, but if it gets to a game 7, you've already cashed your bet, regardless of what happens in there. You could look at the Knicks and the Pacers. I think this series is, I think every game is close. I love that Pacers plus 2.5 games. I don't think the Knicks are going to blow this team out, especially not if it gets back to, not when it gets back to Indianapolis. So this would have to be it'd have to be a Knicks pretty big beatdown. And with a team that only plays 6 or 7 guys, I just think that they're going to, they get 1 day of rest before game 2.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be surprised if the Pacers split and steal game 2. And if you get that in one of your parlays, now you're sitting on Pacers plus 2.5, and they only have to win 1 more game. You can go down to the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. You can get the Timberwolves minus 1.5 games at minus 340. That's a great parlay piece, especially if they're going to be without Murray. I keep harping on that. But if Murray's out, this is going to be 3-0, and now you need Denver to come back and win 3 straight games against that defense. That could be really tough to do. So I've been doing the same thing in NHL. You can get some of these really great series prices on spreads if you got strong opinions on it. So don't overlook those. They've been very, very good. I've yet to lose one of these in the NBA or NHL season playoffs so far. I know we're early, but those have been good ways to kind of grab a couple units here or there throughout the playoffs.
I think it's a great way to approach it, Andy. And there's still a couple of more series that have to be decided here before it's all said and done. You thinking the Knicks got Indiana? Indiana's been really good at home all season long, man. So even if they, I don't think it's over if they lose tomorrow. But boy, oh boy, it feels that those two teams might be a little bit closer than some people thought originally.
Oh, I thought this was going to be a great series. Halliburton played terrible. His back is obviously still hurting him. But when the Pacers bring that bench in, they do not stop. Obi Toppin, McConnell, they have a huge speed advantage, and don't be surprised if this Knicks team starts to get pretty tired, especially last night. I don't know who they bring in off the bench to try and spell their starters. I think Tibbs is just going to keep rolling with them, and maybe they hang on, maybe they don't, but I think the Pacers get at least 2 games from them, maybe 3.
I agree there. I think absolutely that's it. Rick J. Kyrie over 24.5 points and over 5.5 assists plus 380. Loves it. That's a good one there as well. Indiana plus 5.5 for Big Daddy tomorrow. Indiana, he likes them in 7. Andy, I think it's going to be a little bit fun, minus the refs, though. And by the way,
dude, they're not winning. No, they're not winning a game 7 at Madison Square Garden.
Madison Square Garden would be good.
There's no chance. Listen, we've been down this road before. It's not going to happen. The Pacers are not going to go in there. They would have to win by 30 points in order. They would have put no doubt in there because you know what's coming.
Kyrie over 4.5 assists and over 2.5 threes also at plus 150, which is actually pretty impressive there. Saucy Boss coming in and just saying, put it all on the Celtics. The Celtics are winning everything. And if I had a dime for every time I've heard a Celtics fan tell me that, just put it all on the Celtics. They're going to run the table. It's like, that should be pretty fun too. I think Rashad's going to get a Minnesota Timberwolves tattoo on his ass. I think he's so pumped up about Minnesota. I think it's going to be outstanding. Listen, good luck. I hope they run the table and meet Boston, because that would be the best finals that we've had in a long time, because the finals last year sucked. So I think that would be absolutely fantastic. S. Warrior, right on time again, dude. Honestly, holy good Lord. It's like, damn, dude, what clock you on? S. Warrior is showing up. He wants to know, where's Ayo? It looks like, what do we got? Pistons in 5. I think that's the call that we got going on there. Unbelievable. Guys, don't forget, hit that like button here. We certainly appreciate it. Should be actually a pretty good late night game here today with Dallas and OKC. Looking forward to that one. We'll have a big Friday show heading into the weekend. And Andy, what do you got locked and loaded over at WagerTalk for us here tonight?
Big golf week. We've got a couple big weeks of golf. I know it's an NBA show, but we have a huge elevated tournament. And then next week is the next golf major of the year. So we've got a best bet up there. Number one in golf this year, 18-8 in golf bets. So even if you guys aren't big golf fans, it's a great way to get your bankroll built up. You can also still take advantage of the buy 7 days, you get 4 of them free. So you're going to get 11 days, less than $10 a day, and that's going to get you all MLB plays, NHL. We've got a UFC card that's really bettable this week. You get golf plays, and if you get it today, you get golf plays for this week and next week. That's the real beauty of wrapping over until next week. So NBA, NHL, we're having a really, really good 2024. Looking forward to bring in more units. You can check all those plays out. Andy Lang at WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, there you go, guys. No reason not to get involved. Plenty of opportunities to make it one hell of a profitable evening. And S. Warrior, it's 4 o'clock Eastern time next time. 4 o'clock, my man. Come back and join us again tomorrow, and then we can all tell each other how wrong and how right we were. Should be absolutely a fantastic evening. Guys, best of luck with the plays here tonight. And Cheshire Cat, listen, I got you. I hope you cash that ticket when it's all said and done. I hope you're cashing that ticket. And cash a few tonight while you're at it, guys. We'll see you again tomorrow for another NBA tip-off show. Until then, best of luck, guys. We'll see you.